Hey guys, let's talk about tonight's episode of Arrow. Oh my god. That was the craziest ending. Oh my god. What? When Oliver said, "You have taken your last life," and then Ra's al Ghul says, "You have lived your last day," I was like, oh boy, this is going to be crazy. And what? Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. This is, I think, the best mid-season finale I have seen in so long. Oh my god. I mean, we start the whole episode watching Oliver climbing up this treacherous mountain, and you have no idea where he's going. You just realize that he's trying to get to the top of something, and by 3/4 of the way through the episode, you realize that he's going to reach the top, if he can survive it, to fight Ra's al Ghul. And why is he going to fight Ra's al Ghul? Why has he been challenged to a duel death? Because Thea killed Sarah. I mean, what? This episode was bananas. From start to finish, there was so many bombs dropped. Seriously, Thea killed Sarah, and she has no memory of it because she was given some serum, something that erased her memory of anything that she did that day. So she has no recollection that she came back to Starling City. She has no recollection that she's the one who killed Sarah. I mean, that scene at the beginning when she bumps into Laurel at the gravesite, and she's like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" She's like, "Oh, sometimes I like to come here and visit Sarah's gravesite." She's like, "Even though Sarah's alive?" And that's when Laurel tells Thea that Sarah has died, and her reaction is like anybody else who has no clue that Sarah is dead would be, which is shock and awe. And, as the episode's playing out, you realize that Thea has done a lot of lying, and she's lied a lot to her brother and about her father, Malcolm Merlyn. So, of course, all this comes to a head when the League of Assassins has basically given Oliver 48 hours to figure out who killed Sarah, or else they are going to kill 50 people a day until the truth comes out. And so this obviously puts Oliver and his team in full steam trying to figure out who has done this. And then they ultimately come down to tracking down the DNA to Oliver. And then all of a sudden it switches to Thea, and of course Oliver's in denial that his sister could have done this. Why would she have done this? Why would she kill Sarah? There's no rhyme or reason to it. But it is true. And Malcolm Merlyn has video proof of it. I mean, come on. It's just crazy. Guys, this episode was crazy. We got tons of flashbacks back to Hong Kong. We saw Oliver and Seo, is how you say his name, I believe, but torturing a man who they knew stole this this serum that can wipe out entire cities in like a day. And they're trying to figure out where it is and where did he put it? And this man, of course, has no recollection of this. And they realize that, well, not they, but Seo realizes that he's heard of this thing before, where basically it can do mind manipulation on you, and it can cause you to do things and not remember them after the fact, because they've tortured him so hard. They've stabbed him with an arrow, and he's still not revealing the truth. So this is obviously paralleling what's happened back in Hong Kong to what is actually going on in present day with what happened with Thea. So of course, Malcolm Merlyn says to Oliver, the only way that you can absolve your debt to Ra's al Ghul is if you confess that you killed Sarah, and then you basically challenge him to a duel. And it's like, what? A challenge him to a duel of the deaths. Oh my God. So all episode we keep seeing, every time it's coming back from a commercial break, you're seeing Oliver climbing up this mountain, and it's snowing, and it's crazy, and he's almost falling, and it's nighttime, and it basically takes him a day and a night to get to the top. And this is where the duel is going to go down between Ra's al Ghul and Oliver. And earlier in the episode, okay, so this is only the second time we've seen Ra's al Ghul. We saw him, weeks earlier when Nissa came home and basically told her father that Oliver is now an enemy of theirs because he has not found out who killed Sarah, and he did not kill Malcolm Merlyn when they thought that Malcolm Merlyn was the one who was the guilty party. So this put Oliver on the top of Ra's al Ghul's hit list. So when we see Ra's al Ghul in this, lair where he's been staying, and there's like 6 or 8 guys, and they basically all try to duel him at once, and he kills them all. I mean, so we can see clearly that he is very dangerous. He's badass. He can swing a katana like nobody's business. And so when Oliver's basically like, yeah, I have the will to win this fight against Ra's al Ghul because I'm fighting for Thea. I'm fighting for my sister. I'm fighting for my family. And you're like, yeah, guys, oh my goodness. This episode was crazy. Now, on a lighter note, well, I don't know really if it was a lighter note, but we also got a little bit more into Ray's backstory. And we found out in this episode that Ray's wife was killed by, when the city was taken over by all of Slade's soldiers, and the Mirror Kruger was running through everybody's body, and they came across some people, and they got into a big fight. They broke his leg, they snapped his wife's neck, and he's trying to explain to Felicity why, he's sort of been reluctant to push forward with this relationship, because the last person he ever thought he was going to kiss was his wife, and now the next person he's kissed since then is Felicity. And of course he lays it on really thick when he's like, anybody in the world wouldn't regret kissing you. And it's just like, we know Felicity's amazing. I'm sorry, I have to say it every time, but I do. Felicity's awesome. So, he reveals a part of him to Felicity, but then later on she calls him out and she says, why are you really here? Why did you really take over Queen Consolidated? And he reveals that what it is that he's been up to. And obviously we saw that Adam armor that he's been working on, and it's an armor that he's using to protect the city. And of course Felicity, under her breath, says, why am I always basically being put in this situation? So, she's working for Team Arrow, and now she's going to be working for Team Ray? We'll see. So they got a little bit closer in this episode, which was good, because I kind of like the dynamic between the two of them. And if Oliver is going to basically push her away, then she might as well move on to something that is a real thing. But of course, before Oliver, sets off for this duel, he and Felicity have another really nice heart-to-heart, and he reveals to her there's 2 things that he knows. 1, that he will do anything to protect his sister, and 2, that he loves her. And this was after he gave her the very, friendly forehead kiss. But he then says, I love you, as he walks off. So, was this his final goodbye to Felicity? Because what happens on the top of that mountain, OMG. I mean, obviously he can't be dead, but damn, I mean, crazy. So I'll get back to that in a second. So we also had Laurel's mom arrive in town in this episode. And of course it's the holidays, so she wants to spend time with her entire family. And she can sense that something is not right. So she basically asks Laurel, like, what's up? Where's your sister? Because I'm getting that feeling when I knew she was alive before, that I'm getting the feeling that she's not alive now. And Laurel confesses that Sarah is dead. And so her mother and her go to the gravesite. And then, of course, her mother's basically, well, first, Laurel's like, I promise that I'm going to find out whoever killed my sister, and I'm going to make them pay. And then the mother's like, you better make them suffer. So I was like, well, Thea / Oliver, guilty parties here. So it should be interesting when that all comes to light, who they're going to really say killed her or who they're going to blame it on. It'll be interesting. But we all know that, Laurel is on her way of becoming Black Canary. So who knows who she's going to be when the truth finally comes out, how strong, how powerful she's actually going to be. And maybe she'll join the League of Assassins, because let's face it, her and Nissa ended on pretty good terms when all was said and done. So if she comes back to town and tells Laurel that Oliver confessed, it'll be very interesting. One of the lines that Okay, let me get back to that in a second. One of the other things that happened in this episode, in the flashbacks to Hong Kong, we saw Seo's wife battling up against the woman with the white hair. And they had a nice little fight in her apartment, and so she has been taken by the woman with the white hair. I can't remember her name. Sorry, don't hate me. But the son witnessed all of it, and of course she's now been taken by her. So it'll be interesting to see where she happens to be. And what also was very interesting in this episode is that Seo is now working for League of Assassins. So that reveal at the beginning of the episode when Oliver sees him is another really shocking moment for Oliver. There was a lot of bombs dropped on Oliver in this episode. And so to see that Seo is working for the League of Assassins and Ra's al Ghul, and he's basically his henchman, and he was the one who was sent to kill the 50 people in Starling City if they weren't able to successfully find out who killed Sarah. And then he basically says to Oliver, you know, I don't want to watch you die, and I have to be the witness during this whole fight. And he asks him one more time, like, are you sure you really want to do this? And he tells him to pick a weapon, and, you know, the fight is about to go down. And one of the things that I really liked when Nyssa said to Oliver, as, you know, basically the father is saying, you know, the reason why I killed my first person when I was 11, and I saw the light come out of his eyes, and then I've since gone on to kill thousands of people, and Oliver says to him, today is the last day that you're basically going to kill anybody, or you've already killed the last person you're ever going to kill. And then he says to Oliver, today's the last day that you're ever going to be alive. And Nyssa walks away, and she looks at Oliver and she says, I envy you, or I'm jealous of you, because you're going to get to see Sarah first. And I was like, ooh, yeah. And that is exactly what happens. So these two, Ra's al Ghul and Arrow, get into this really great battle. You know, at first, Ra's al Ghul doesn't pick a weapon. And he says, that's okay, I'm going to take yours from you. And of course, this is how the fight starts out. So Oliver and him start dueling. They're battling each other. And Oliver loses one of his swords. And then he picks it up. And they start going at it like crazy. And just as you think Oliver's sort of got one up on him, Ra's al Ghul has the knife up to his throat, and he walks him up to the edge of the cliff. And he basically says, look, you lasted longer than most people would. You should be happy. You should be proud of yourself. And this, is, of course, is when Oliver sort of takes one last jab at him. And it looks like, oh, you know, Oliver's going to get the win. And then he, like, Raza, like, clips him in the throat. And he's, like, basically got his hands up at his throat. He stabs him in the side. And then he says, you know, with almost a lot of pride, like, he's not, like, vengeance. Like, he doesn't have all this vengeance at Oliver. But he basically says, like, you know, you've fought well and you're dying a good death. You know, this is a solid death for you. And he basically just stabs him in what looks like the heart clear through. Okay, I saw the blade come out the other side, people. Blood comes pouring out of Oliver's mouth, and then he starts having all these flashes to his father, his mother, his sister, to Felicity, and Ra's al Ghul is saying some things to him, like have mercy on his soul and all this kind of stuff. And then he just kicks him over the edge. I mean, this was a high cliff, people. So there's no way he should survive this fall unless he lands on like a smaller little level, because, oh my goodness. What? I should have ended with that, but there was one other thing I wanted to point out, which made me laugh hysterically. I'm sorry. But when Oliver shows up at Thea's house, or their house, and he's like, where is Malcolm Merlin? And she's all like, oh my goodness, oh, what was me? And then she throws the glass at him, and then she like starts doing her little karate kicks, and then she's like, leave my daddy alone, and then she runs into the outside, and she jumps over the balcony railing. I had to laugh because it was just so cheesy. I know Thea has been fighting. I know it, but the scene was almost too comical for me. But that being said, this was a solid mid-season finale, and I cannot believe they ended it on this note. What bananas. So Oliver is over a cliff. You know, Felicity's standing in a room. The last word she heard from Oliver was, I love you. He's given his handshake to his boys. Quentin is still unaware that Sarah is dead. The mother knows. Sarah knows. Thea knows that Sarah's dead. Everybody is aware that Sarah's dead except for the father. Like, all these truth bombs got dropped in this episode. Malcolm Merlyn is running around with some video evidence of his daughter killing Sarah. I mean, how much more could they have packed into this episode? Wow. That ending, oh my God. Oh my goodness. Awesome. All right, guys, I guess I will not see you until like the end of January when the show returns. I cannot wait. Please leave a comment down below, like, subscribe. Let me know what you thought of this episode. Holy cow. Oh my goodness. Okay, guys, that's it for me. There's not much more I can say. Seriously. I mean, I'm gushing. It's too much. It's just too much. I gotta go. Bye.